Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Southwest Virginia fishing report with Matt Reilly. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great, Marvin. How are you doing?
Just trying to stay out of trouble. Sounds like you've got Brewdex on the brain.
Yeah, man. For the last several months, really, I'm just hoping that get a good week and a half in of peak emergence and fishing before I get married and head across the country to Oregon for a couple of weeks. But we'll see what happens.
Well, there you go, and looking at the weather, I mean, we've kind of gotten our first good pop of hot summer weather here for the last few days, and it's going to cool off for the holiday weekend, but it's also been pretty dry. And so how's that impacting what you're seeing on the water?
Yeah, things are low, which is weird for this time of year, but, it's hard to complain. We're sitting about 2,500 cubic feet on the new at Radford right now, which is sort of ideal summertime conditions, and we had that for maybe a week total last summer. So to have it in May, can't complain too much, but we will need some rain at some point. Otherwise, summer's going to be pretty dang low. But yeah, we've been catching some fish on topwater. It's been low and clear enough and warm enough that we can do that. And fish are sort of transitioning out of the sort of the spawn period into post-spawn. I'd say at this point, definitely the majority of the fish are post-spawn. You've got still some guarding nests, but it's a post-spawn world out there, which with low clear water also can be sort of combined to make some weird funky fish, but we've been doing pretty good day to day. Still putting some big fish in the net and having some good days. So, again, things are good now. We're gonna need some rain soon, but again, I'm fixing to leave for a couple of weeks, and it won't really be my problem until I get back. So we'll see what things are the end of the month.
So if we're not, it's kind of like we're seeing later season conditions. Are you expecting it to maybe be kind of a more technical smallmouth season as the summer grinds on, if the water's going to stay low and it's going to keep getting clear?
It certainly could be. But that's the, if you live in Roanoke, and you're a smallmouth angler in Roanoke, you've got the James River and you've got the New River, sort of to your north and south. James River is a much smaller, shallower river. So low clear water, exceptionally low clear water is, can be challenging. It can be on the New too, but what you have to remember is the New is a much deeper, much bigger river on average, which equals just a little bit more challenging and a little bit more, sort of, you have to think a little bit more to find the right conditions and happy fish on the New River, I think, on average, with flies. So having sort of seasonable summer conditions, 2,000 cubic feet and lower, really sort of, I think, puts another card in the hand of fly anglers. So I'm not too upset about it. It beats the heck out of having high water all summer. And the nice thing about low water is even if you're not catching fish, you can see where they're at instead of fishing, 6,000-7,000 cubic feet and just fishing tight to the bank and seeing what happens. So it'll be nice, even if we do have a real low summer. And even more than that, what I didn't say about what we're seeing on the river is, this is the first year in a long time that it hasn't been high and dirty right now. A lot of the fry from this year's smallmouth spawn have already sort of begun to integrate into the population. The fry balls have started to break up, and things are looking good on that front. So if we had 5 or 6 more years like this in a row, I would be pretty happy.
Got it. And, obviously with it warming up and the water dropping, the fish are starting to look up a little bit earlier than normal. What's kind of your top water to subsurface bite looking like?
Yeah, so we're definitely catching some fish on top. I try not to lean too hard on it early. I mean, it really just depends on what you want to do. If your goal is to catch a fish on top water, and you're good with taking a hit on numbers to do that, then absolutely rock and roll with it all day. But what I typically do is I start somebody with some topwater presentation in the front of the boat at the beginning of the day, and somebody with sort of a tried and true streamer presentation in the back of the boat. That way, if you were to put the topwater bug in the back of the boat when we have low, clear water, back of the boat usually takes a hit on numbers anyway in those situations. So I usually put the bug up front, and we'll see, kind of what reaction we're getting. If the guy in the back's just smoking them, then, that tells you what's going on. If they're kind of pacing each other, then that's good. And you can kind of make a decision on what, how you want to fish for the day. And, but the one thing I will say, it's been interesting this year is, really have not seen a ton of blue damselflies yet. You'll probably see a handful a day. But at this time, the last couple of years, I have some notes, saying that we had quite a few, even going back to like the first and second week of May. So I think we may be a little bit behind on that. And, and that just translates to the topwater fishing too, so we don't have the numbers of damsels to really be a prominent food source at the moment. So, throwing your blue sort of damsel winged, topwater bugs really, you're not really imitating anything that's out there kicking around in large numbers right now. So, anything that eats a topwater bug is, just sort of, it's reactionary, or it's eating it out of instinct, knowing that it's a terrestrial insect that's fallen in the water. So it's, fly choice is a little, think about it a little less, just because it doesn't really seem to be matching anything at the moment.
Got it. And we've got a question from Ed, and he was curious about your smallmouth leader setups for topwater and subsurface. And, he wants to geek out. He wants formulas and details. So let's have it.
Okay. So, I, at the moment I don't make my own leaders. I'm using, Scientific Anglers, prepackaged tapered leaders. And, but what I do, for topwater bugs in particular, well, first off, if you're fishing a streamer, you almost always want a fluorocarbon leader, because it's going to, I always hesitate to say that fluorocarbon sinks. It does, what it does is that it doesn't float. There's no buoyant property in it that's going to hinder the sink rate of a neutrally buoyant, fairly unweighted fly. So, I always use fluorocarbon leader, for streamers. If I'm using a floating line in particular, a 9-foot leader, usually down to 16 or 12 pounds. And then the topwater formula is a little bit different. Anytime you're fishing a bug that you want to float on the surface of the water 100% of the time, I always go nylon or monofilament, because it does fit in the surface film. And I usually start with a 9-foot, 16-pound nylon leader from Scientific Anglers, and then clip off about 1.5 feet of it and add fluorocarbon tippet, either in 10, 12, or 16 pounds. And what that does is it just allows the tippet to sit below the surface film, so that you don't have sort of a dimple where the tippet is sitting on the water, that sunlight can refract through and fish can pick up on when they're staring at a topwater bug for 5 seconds in really low, clear water. And 16 pounds sounds really heavy for topwater fishing. I've been doing it more and more lately, because I had some days where, we were just out scouting, messing around, and we had one guy fishing 16 and one guy fishing 12 for 10 in low clear water, and it didn't really make a difference in numbers. And last couple of years, I've had at least one fish, in the 22 plus inch range that has been busted off and didn't make it to the boat. And so if I can go just a little bit heavier, it's gonna make me feel better and hopefully put more of those really big fish in the boat that, just because it's a little more forgiving, with, for bad, bad fish fighting skills. So that's what I do. The sort of special situation is if you're fishing any, sort of diving, swimming topwater fly, something similar to, a buddy of mine, William's topwater Creolex fly, that you do want to, sort of dive under the water when you pull the line across the surface. Feel free to go 100% fluorocarbon on your leader there, because, what happens when you fish a fluorocarbon leader with a topwater bug is, if you make a 50 or 60 or 70 foot cast and then you try to go and pick up all that line from a distance, a lot of times that leader will sort of, the water will grab that leader and it'll drag the bug under the water and it'll just totally mess your cast up. But if you want to be able to drag your line, drag your rod, and make that fly dance, a couple inches under the surface, a fluorocarbon leader is exactly what you want. So that's what I do. I do all blood knots, just because I feel I'm a little more confident in them. And it's not super complicated, but if you want to geek out about it, that's what I do.
Yeah, well, there you go. And, obviously, we have to ask you what you're writing for the Rural Virginia, and how's the word processor been treating you?
Oh, it's been all right. Like I said, I've been on the road the last week or two, and I've got a couple week vacation coming up, so I'm going to start hitting it hard, trying to front load stuff. But right now, we're writing about the spring squirrel season that we've got in Virginia. It's first couple weeks in June every year for the last decade or so. Just kind of a different season for people who can't get out during the fall. There's an opportunity when, schools are out and, kids have more time, or you can get your kid out in the woods doing some, fairly, I'm not going to say easy, but, fairly light hunting that you can kind of build an outdoor career on. So that's what's going on this week. And I've got to come up with a lot more ideas here in the next couple of weeks so I can get them all done.
And you've already written your BroodX article, so you really do have to dig deep.
Yeah, hopefully though, I have a couple of really good stories about that coming up. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, listen, before I let you hop, and I know we're really talking about booking late summer, early fall at this point, because you're really busy. Why don't you let folks know where they can find you so they can get on your guide calendar?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Really, if anybody wants to go this summer, get in touch with me now. I think I booked 7 or 8 trips yesterday, and I think I have like 5 summer days left. So going fast, but still plenty of good fishing to be had into September and October. So don't hesitate. The website is MattReillyFlyFishing.com, and my phone number and email and all that's on there. So however you feel best reaching out, look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, well, there you go. And, folks, we got a long holiday weekend coming up. You owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Matt.
Thanks, Marvin.